is the Zero Hour. And, I thought in the opening commentary for this hour, just reflect a little bit on the West Virginia segment and the Rainforest Action Network segment on the Keystone XL pipeline, and tie that into our name. This whole notion that we're approaching the Zero Hour. It astonishes me the passivity with which so far so much of the public and so much of the media has accepted the ongoing destruction of our planet. And part of it has been this ability to confuse people about climate change and so on. But, what I've thought about a lot is, first of all, every segment that I do, every monologue or every interview we have gets a name. And usually our fantastic crew, either our executive producer, Pete Callahan, or our master of ceremonies, Troy Miller, comes up with a great name. And let's give a big shout out to them now. They come up with a great name for each segment, and they'll probably come up with a better one for this monologue. But, I guess if I were naming it, I might call it, what if they gave an alien invasion and nobody came? Because back when I was a kid, Paul Krugman, who's about my age, has written about this too. Back when we were kids, the TV show The Outer Limits had an episode called Architects of Fear. And the whole premise of the episode was this: the world was divided by wars and the Cold War and racial divisions and divisions between rich and poor and left and right and young and old and so on. And that some people got together in secret and decided that the ideal way to unite humanity peacefully was by creating the threat of an alien invasion. So that was the whole premise of this show. And Robert Culp, who went on to become a popular actor, played an astronaut who was biologically altered to become a big, horrible, scary alien, and then they sent him out into deep space, and he came back in and landed and came out and threatened the world, etc., etc. A very sentimental story where his wife recognizes him as he's dying, etc. But here's the thing. The whole world came together, as everybody assumed it would. There were millions of science fiction movies back then. Well, not millions, I exaggerate. Let's leave the exaggeration to the other side. But there were dozens of science fiction movies with the premise that everybody gets together once the flying saucers appear and humanity is threatened. But here's the thing. We now have an existential threat to our planet. It's not alien invasion. It's corporate invasion. It's polluter invasion. But it is it is a major threat. They're saying that, in a few decades, 100 million people or more will be displaced by coastline flooding, on and on and on. There'll be mass increase in deaths. There'll be increase in disease. We're altering the chemistry, the balance of our planet, and perhaps in even more destructive ways than we realize. So now, I've thought about writing a movie script where the architects of fear come back and try to unite humanity again with another existential threat, aliens or whatever, but nobody cares because right-wingers go on TV and say the aliens aren't real, and corporate people go on and say the aliens won't have a big effect on the economy, and other corporate interests do trade deals with the aliens or offer to be their public relations agents or get them on NPR or book them on The Tonight Show or whatever. I mean, it's just, that's how absurd our current situation is right now. I mean, look at West Virginia. Look at what's happening to West Virginia. Speak about aliens. Think about aliens for a second. In the movie Independence Day, the whole premise was that these aliens came in, devastated the planet, killed everybody on it, drew its raw materials out of the ground so that it was just gaping craters everywhere, and then their giant spaceships moved on to the next planet to do the same. Take a look at some of the mountaintop mining in West Virginia and some of the other coal-producing states. It will look to you. Go down there. Do what Mary Lynn Evans suggested. Get in your car and go down there if you're within driving distance. Bring some water and take a look around, because the environmental destruction you see there will look as if the spaceships from Independence Day had come through and just devastated certain areas of the economy. Strip mining is a devastating act, and yet we did nothing to stop it. Now, imagine a planet that's equally devastated, where climate is destabilized, where it's overheated, where there are terrible storms, where there's widespread poverty, where the low-lying coastlines of India, of Bangladesh, of many of the island and other third world nations, but New York City, Los Angeles, and so on, are harmed by rising floodwaters, where 100 million refugees are displaced on this planet that we know and love. Think about the fact that this is coming, and there's an extraordinary level of disinterest. And it's actually, we're told that it's a matter of debate whether climate change is real or not. No, it isn't. It's scientifically accepted fact. Why are we still talking about this? And that includes extra cold weather as well as extra hot weather. That's why it's no longer called global warming, because that leads people to believe that unusual storms or cold spells are not also the process, part of the process. So stick with us hour, because faith, or the misapplication of faith, is another area of concern that we have to deal with here. So we're going to be talking with a terrific writer about what he thinks is wrong with the new atheism, and also what's wrong with the debate that was recently held about climate change. I tend to agree with him on that. We'll be talking about other issues of national perception. Excuse me, I'm told we had a slight technical problem, which I think we've addressed, having to do with our video feed. But unless you're watching on the YouTube channel, which, by the way, you really should, right now it can be found at Take Action News as a YouTube search, but it may also be found as the 0 Hour. We'll be keeping you posted on that. But in the meantime, I want to reassure you that our loss of video was not the result of alien tampering with our broadcasting machinery, nor was it the result of corporate tampering, as far as I know. But please stick with us here on the 0 Hour, or as it's been formerly known, Take Action News. We intend to bring you everything you need to know to make decisions based on the urgency of our economic climate and political realities. So please stick with us. I am RJ Eskow, and this is the 0 Hour.